The world of Fallout is phenomenal, taking place in a post-apocalyptic universe featuring anti-communist robots, aliens, the Brotherhood of Steel, and of course the most important thing, two-headed cows. After the bombs fell in 2077, don't worry, we're still in Fallout. The class system of humanity has fallen apart, giving a new way for the inhabitants of the wastelands to hopefully prosper. And the main thing we think of when we think of Fallout are factions like the NCR, the Enclave, the Brotherhood of Steel, and all these amazing factions in the universe. But there's one key part of Fallout that I love the most, and that is the communities. In a post-apocalyptic universe, these hubs and societies are key to survive. And for these settlements to survive, there's one thing that is even more important, and that's traders. And with today, we are going to be making a diorama showcasing that very heart and soul of Fallout. So let's jump right in.
And to start with, we are going to be building our very own Brahmin miniature from Fallout. That's the two-headed cow we like to see on our adventures throughout the Fallout universe, usually with a trader by its side. And what you're seeing me do now is clearing up all of the flash from the miniature. Because these are resin miniatures, that means there are some little bits left behind from the casting process, which means we just need to get our hobby knife and cut around them. And to glue this miniature all together, we're using super glue, as normal plastic glue won't work in this case. And since this is a resin miniature, we're going to have to give him a quick little bath with some normal hand soap, since when a resin miniature is crafted, there is usually a release mold surrounding the miniature, and to get rid of this, we're just going to heat him up a little bit with some water. And using some soap and a toothbrush, we're going to scrub the whole miniature, removing any flash. Because let's quickly take a look at what happened to my Skyrim miniatures when I didn't give them a quick wash. As you see, I have already primed this beautiful man. And once I get my toothbrush and start scrubbing him a little bit, you'll notice the primer isn't actually coming off, but loads of these small resin flakes that I didn't clean off before priming. This is why it's super important when you're using a resin miniature, like anything from Forge World from Warhammer or these resin miniatures from Modiphius. Just give them a quick bath and a quick scrub and you'll most likely be okay. So let's quickly head outside and heat up our primer before spraying this Brahmin everywhere. For this, I'm going to start with a black primer. Any primer will do. In this case, I'd like to use a can outside just because I'm lazy and it's so much quicker. Then next, I'm going to mix up this special white concoction and start to prime with a zenithal highlight from above. That basically means I'm going to spray white from above and it's going to make it look nice and pretty. In the background, I also made our trader, who she'll have an awesome shotgun with a wrench by her side, and I quickly primed her as well. Which means it's time to start painting our lovable two-headed cow. And this is actually one of the most anxious I've ever been when it comes to painting miniatures, because I don't know if you know, but a cow is like 90% skin. And skin is one of the hardest things you can paint when it comes to miniature painting. Thankfully for this, it's just a bunch of shades of brown. So I started with these dark brown flesh tones and slowly dry brushed my way up into kind of a more of a sandy brown. And for our shadows, I chose for a kind of a horrible purple tone. Unfortunately for these Brahmin, when you actually look close at their skin, they're kind of a little bit diseased. They're definitely not the most well-kempt cows I've seen, so adding these purple shadows really emphasizes that kind of gross wasteland effect it has. So I've quickly started painting the cargo of the Brahmin, adding these nice metallics and leather straps all over the cow. And kind of saying that out loud, kind of feels weird to add leather straps to a cow, kind of some Ouroboros effect going on. But anyway, with the cow now painted, we can move back to the diorama, and we're going to be starting with my favorite material, Daz air drying clay, but any air drying clay will work. The reason why it's so good, unlike normal clay, you don't have to add any heat to this. Literally just leave it out and within a day it'll be rock solid. And if we want to smooth out this clay for a nice smooth effect, we can just slap some water on it and give it a good pat down. And one of the best storytelling elements of any Bethesda game, especially in Fallout, is the scenery and the small details along the way. So I wanted to make this cool little wooden fence as a kind of a warning to any raiders or traders coming along this path that there are mines everywhere, kind of similar to the Boomer Town in Fallout New Vegas. And to do this, I quickly chopped up some balsa wood and pretty much just stuck it together. And to add some more of a damaged effect, I scratched it up with my hobby knife before moving on to trying to make some little rocks. So after mixing a two-part putty of milliput together, it creates this small, nice moldable putty that will come rock hard within a couple of hours. And for this diorama, I kind of wanted to handcraft everything. That did not happen. As I later found out, rocks, while simple, are kind of hard to make, especially when you look at a desert biome. There aren't really these normal rocks I see in my day-to-day living in England. And after adding our first layer of sand, I added some PVA glue all over that sand again to put some more sand on. Once that was all roughly stuck down, I wanted to add a nice gravel path leading down this wasteland. After this, I just used these little gravel bits. And here's a quick lesson in isopropyl alcohol. A lot of people use it on YouTube and they don't really explain why, but here's a really good summary. Because there is so much surface tension on these rocks, when we add glue to it, it's not going to soak in, it's just going to ball on top and create a sphere of glue. But when we add isopropyl alcohol to the mixture, it basically makes everything nice and wet, and because the alcohol will evaporate, once the glue soaks in, it will leave it nice and hard. And while our diorama dries, let's move over to our trader. I built her in a fun fashion where she's holding a wrench and she's got a shotgun in her left arm, and I kind of wanted to make this kind of wacky wastelander aesthetic to her. And for most of her clothes, I just kind of chose to base it in these normal dry earth tones and the khakis and the blacks, with some leather elements to it. When I paint, I try and keep everything kind of simple, and if I can, I try to use the same 1 or 2 paints across the whole diorama. That way it fits in with the color scheme, and you won't have these glaringly obvious different color distractions when you're looking at it. And to finish some parts of her model, I wanted to give her these nice kind of red shoes, as I think in the wasteland, it will kind of breed a lot of eccentric people. And for her, I like to imagine she has to keep her red shoes as cool and pristine as she can, as she shows them off as she walks across the wasteland. But of course, this is Fallout and nothing can be as clean as it should really be. When we look at a lot of the concept art for the game, we can see the Brahmin are all rusted and quite decrepit looking. And to kind of replicate that, I've added all this rust paint just to the chests of the Brahmin. And it actually looks pretty good. So let's move over back to the diorama and start painting these more fun aspects. To start, we're going to be painting the sign in a nice kind of oak brown. Now, they wouldn't have had oak trees in the desert unless I am mistaken, but we'll rectify that later on. I quickly scraped off any of these small splinters left on it and quickly painted the plants, which means it's time to head over back to my airbrush station, which is basically just a plastic tray in front of the window. And of course, this means we're going to be painting our sand to look like sand. And to rectify the brown wood, we're going to be using our airbrush, using our nice khaki sand color, and slowly spraying it all over that wood, which basically, all over that fence, which will add this really nice dusty tone to it. And when it comes to painting the path, I basically grabbed a bunch of greys and basically just plastered it all over the path. And to bring the sign to life, let's grab some of these transfer sheets from Warhammer 40,000. The Krieg, to be exact. While these transfers might be really high gloss, we can resolve that later on by adding a nice dusting effect with the airbrush. But first, let's unify our gravel path. For this, I'm just using a couple of brown shades and just putting it all over these rocks. This will add some nice contrast while keeping some highlights above and the shadows below. And for this, we're going to add a nice dusting effect to the transfers by spraying from above with a nice pale sand color. I then did this all over the diorama, especially over the gravel path to add these nice dusty highlights. And then I did it over the miniatures we just painted to make everything fit in theme for the diorama and the universe. And then copying Boiler Hobby Time, we can use some black 3.0 to cover the base of the diorama and make it look nice and dark. Then all we have to do is plop these miniatures on and we are done for today. Please make sure to like and comment down below. Let me know what you think and what diorama you'd like to see next. Shall we continue on in the Fallout universe? Go back to Warhammer, or maybe even a cheeky Star Wars diorama? Let me know what your thoughts are. I've been Reese, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!